right, welcome to the Meat Dudes. We are meat obsessed, Wagyu focused, source driven, and barbecue influenced. I'm Evan.
Tyler.
There we go. And we are joined today. We have a huge guest. We are so excited for this guy, Mr. Joe Thomas. Needs no introduction. If you have ever watched a football game in your entire life, he is an NFL Hall of Famer, a Cleveland Browns legend, one of the greatest left tackles in the game, and Mr. Consecutive, man. I mean, like over 10,363 consecutive snaps played in the NFL. That's incredible. And Joe, so happy to have you here, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to be on the podcast. I've been a fan for a long time, so it's truly an honor to be here with you guys.
That's so cool, man. Like we're here in Seattle, and over here, we love our Seahawks, man. But for you, you're one of the guys that like I think everybody loves and understands, and like one of those guys that like just does it the right way all the time. Like that's when I think of you. When I think of Joe Thomas, I'm like consistent, does it the right way all the time, man. And for you, now you are, raising cattle. You've been doing it since about 2012, and you have Six Springs Farms, and you're launching Hall of Fame beef and Wagyu beef, man. And so tell us that journey, and let's get into it, man. What is Six Springs Farms all about?
Yeah, I'll give you the quick elevator story for us. So 2012, we did a baby moon, my wife and I. Very blessed. My wife and I, we've always loved to travel. And NFL budgets allow you to travel to cool places. So we were in Japan, and we were staying at the Park Hyatt, and we ate at the restaurant right at the top and had Wagyu beef for the first time. And I really didn't know anything about it. I just knew it was a good steak at the time. I got a call from a buddy, and he said, "Hey, I know you've been looking for a farm for since you got to the NFL in 2007. I found one that I think is perfect. It's in the driftless part of Wisconsin, which is a really unique, cool part of the world, really, that the glaciers didn't hit the last time through. So it's got these amazing bluffs and valleys and rivers and streams, and the wildlife is everywhere. It's got this amazingly fertile and productive soil. You should come take a look at it." So I got back from Japan, went out there, fell in love the second I walked on the property, bought it in 2012. And it wasn't actually until 2017, 18 when we started raising beef. Because my wife, she grew up out in the country, but not on a farm. But both of our families, going back to our grandparents, great grandparents, were farmers in Wisconsin. And my kids came to me because they had heard my wife had a pet cow, and she was little because her uncle was a dairy farmer. Back then, bull calves were worth nothing, so they just gave it to them, and then they raised it in their backyard. And so my kids heard that story and were like, "Dad, we got to get some cows on the farm." And the first thing I thought was like, well, that's awesome. I'm cool with pets. We got, a couple cats, and we're going to have a dog. But this is a pet that I can actually enjoy outside of their life. So I was like, yes, this sounds like a great idea. So I gave the task to her dad to figure out, all right, I don't know anything about this beef thing. Let's spend some money on it because I really want it to be high quality, awesome stuff, because this is what my family's going to eat. So then 2018, we got our first beef, Simmental Angus cross. We got 5 cows in a bull. And then 2 years later, we have two steers. And so we cut it up, started eating it, started giving out to family and friends. Everybody was raving about it, right? Because when you taste the difference between commercial beef that you get at the grocery store versus like something that you raise on your farm and your kids have been feeding it by hand since the thing was a calf, it's like, wow, there is a huge difference here. And so I gave it to one of my buddies who's a James Beard finalist chef, best chef in the Midwest, Dan Bonanno. He's got a restaurant in town. Because I wanted some unbiased opinion, because I didn't want to grow the herd and start selling it. And then people be like, well, this is just as good as the stuff I get at the grocery store. So I gave it to him, and he was like, wow, this is as good as any of the stuff that I can buy. And at that point, we weren't really even trying. We weren't really doing much. We bought good genetics. We put them on pasture. They just were finished on grass. We didn't even finish them with corn. And it was really good. And I was like, I need to figure out why, right? And it timed up pretty good because in 2017, I retired after that season from the NFL. And so I was really looking to put my passion and my energy into something, that gets me out of bed every day, right? Like the kids, I got 4 kids. Like obviously they take a lot of time and a lot of passion, but I needed some work, some me time, right? Something that I could focus on and pour that obsession that I had with football into. And so I really got into beef at that point. And then in 2023, the year that I got into the NFL Hall of Fame, is when we started selling beef online and then do a few select restaurants.
Wow. So that was your Angus cross, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we started out with those Simmental Angus, and then as
Yeah.
the herd grew, we added some red Angus on top of the black Angus, and then we switching out the bulls, and so we kind of had a mixed crossbreed herd, but they were all really good genetics. But it was going back to 2001 that I really dove into like the Wagyu game because it was coming out of COVID, so we started traveling a little bit more with the family. Went to Vegas with some friends at Nobu and had like a hot rock Wagyu experience, which is like mind blown. I'm like, what is this? This can't be beef. And then we took my oldest two daughters to Rome and we ate at this amazing restaurant called Aroma. It's a Michelin restaurant. It looks out over this area right by the Coliseum where the gladiators used to it was like their dormitory. And we did the tasting menu and they had a, how do you say it? It's a beef entrecote. Maybe you guys can help me.
Know that.
Basically, it's like the Italian. I think it's French, clearly, but it's like a boneless ribeye. Basically, that they must just sear really hot and then slice it. And at that point, I was like, "Whoa!" Like my mission in 2018 when I started raising beef was to get pets for my kids. And then as I realized how amazing it was and realized how much I was still obsessed with food, even though I'd lost 60 pounds when I retired, I was like, I want to raise the best beef on planet Earth. This is a passion project. This is not a business for me. And it was in 2001 when I was sitting there with my wife where I was like, we need Wagyu. So I called back to my farm manager, Brandon. I was like, dude, we need to do Wagyu. You need to start researching this and figure it out because this stuff is another level. And this is what I need to pursue. This is the breed I need to pursue if I want to raise the best beef on planet Earth. And so it was really at that point when the snowball started rolling downhill where I was like, yeah, we're going to still raise our Angus and we're going to still raise, some other breeds because I'm just a curious person by nature. And I want to try all the heritage breeds. I want to get some Kianina and maybe some Hanmu from Korea and just kind of mix and match and experiment as a little scientist. But I'm like, I think Wagyu is the future for us.
Yes. Wagyu is the future, man. I agree. And so, so you've tried it a couple of times before this and you were just like, wow, this is amazing. But what was that one moment where you're like, why Wagyu? Why do you have to have Wagyu beef on this farm? Like, what is it about? Is it health? Is it just better beef? Like, in your words, why Wagyu?
Yeah. So when we decided to make Six Springs Farms and Hall of Fame beef a business and start selling to people, like I've got a lot of pride in the things that I do, and anything I do, I want to be the best at it. Right. That was my mentality as a football player. And I've always loved eating. I love feeding people. Like we love having friends and family over and like giving them the experiences that we're able to get when we travel and we go to these amazing restaurants and go to these amazing dinners that, you get opportunities like that when you're in the NFL Hall of Fame. But I want to bring it home here and I want to bring it to family and friends. And so Wagyu clearly was the best beef I'd ever tasted. And it's not even close, right?
Love it.
I love a good beefy Angus. I love like all beef. I love pork, chicken, like protein is my jam. But like Wagyu is just it's that step above. And then so when we started diving in and researching it, all of a sudden I realized like all these amazing health benefits. And as a guy that retired in 2017 and everyone's like, well, why did you hang it up early? You had still so much left. I'm like, dude, if you see the MRI on my knees, like I got no cartilage left. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm 310 pounds and I'm hurting every day. I slide down the stairs on my butt. To be able to go out and practice, which almost never happened because I was almost never available. Like I got to get my knee drained. I got to get shots in my knee. And like, it was just this vicious cycle. And so I couldn't take it anymore. And so when I retired in 2017, 2018, I said, I need to lose weight. That's what the doctor said. He's like, unless you're going to get a knee replacement right now, which you're 35 or whatever, he's like, don't do that. He's like, you need to lose weight. And so that kind of went hand in hand with the Wagyu because I went keto, not true keto, high fat, but like low carb. And I lost 50 pounds. I felt amazing. And I realized like the power of food as medicine, which, sorry to ramble on, but like as a football player, I was a little guy. I wasn't a big lineman. I mean, I'm 6'7", 320, which is big by normal people standards. But like as a lineman, like I really had to eat a lot of sugar and bad stuff in my body just because I needed those calories to be able to put that weight on. And so when I kind of started focusing more on my own health because I wanted the inflammation benefits, I wanted to feel better, I wanted to be able to run around with my kids. I got into like that carnivore, keto, high protein, vegetables and protein was basically every meal, lost all the weight, felt amazing. And then now I'm researching Wagyu and starting to understand the high levels of omega-3s and omega-6s and oleic acid, which, as we know, like oleic acid is the olive oil, right? It gives us that buttery texture when we're eating Wagyu because that fat melts at like 70 degrees, right? So you put it in your mouth, it's like an M&M. It's better than an M&M. It's like an adult M&M. You put it in your mouth, it starts melting, gives you that
like
amazing
I'm talking
flavor.
to myself here.
Yeah, this is a mirror here, right here.
Love it.
But it was the way that that food was making me feel, because the food is medicine. And I never really was able to put those two together because I wasn't able to parse out what I was eating when I was playing. Whereas now I'm done playing, it doesn't matter. So I can try like, hey, let's fast for 5 days, see what happens, right? Let's work out, let's train fasted, and then not eat anything after and see how sore I'm going to be, right? And so I could kind of compare those things. And I was using myself as like a little lab with food just to see like what was the food that my body liked and what was the food that it didn't like. And it turns out beef, turns out proteins, vegetables, like you feel really good. And then as I got into the Wagyu and started realizing the health benefits of that, it just was a no-brainer in my mind. Like, okay, this is the best tasting beef on earth, but it's also so good and healthy for you. And it actually is medicine, right? Which trying to teach friends, family, my kids, like the right way to eat and how important that is for your long-term health and happiness. And now being able to raise that high quality Wagyu on my farm, so I know what it's been eating, and now I can eat that and I can feel good doing it. It was just like the perfect story for me, and now we've just run with it.
That's amazing.
I love that so much. So many good tidbits in there, man. Like the health benefits. It's funny that people like Chef Tyler and I have been talking about this for a while. When people come into our butcher shop, we talk about the health benefits, and they're like, "Oh, that's too fatty," and we're like, "Well, everything in moderation, of course, but these have high omega-3s, high omega-6s. It just some of the best oleic acid, in the fat, some of the best fat in the entire world, like healthier than salmon, healthier than olive oil." And people still don't believe it. So, for you, what are some of those misconceptions maybe you've heard, over the years? Because you actually tried Wagyu beef a while ago. That's pretty impressive. Not a lot of people have tried it it's been pretty popular here, I think, in the last maybe 5, 8, 10 years. But what are some of those misconceptions maybe you've heard in the past few years?
Yeah, I mean, Wagyu is kind of new to the American palate. It's new to the consumer. And so we don't know a whole lot about it. And typically the first thing anybody knows about Wagyu is Kobe beef, right? So they think that only Japanese Wagyu can be raised in Japan. And they think that Kobe beef is the only type of Wagyu. Like if it's not Kobe, it's not Wagyu. Well, Kobe is just a region. It's like, if you go to Tuscany and you have Chianti, like it can only be Chianti if it's raised like there in that little area, right? That doesn't mean that anybody else can't raise Chianti, make Chianti wine or champagne, same thing. So Kobe is just Japanese Wagyu raised in the Kobe prefecture. And then I try to explain the story, but sometimes people's eyes glaze over about how in the 90s and in the 70s also, like these American businessmen brought over a bunch of Wagyu because they realized how amazing this was, and Japan was still allowing some exports. And so, yes, it's not raised in Japan, but it is 100% traceable. These Japanese Wagyu are 100% traceable back to the animals that were 100% Wagyu, raised in Japan, brought over either as embryos or semen or as live animals from Japan. And in order to label them as 100% full blood Wagyu, they have to be able to be both parents directly descendants of those cattle from Japan. And so it's hard for people because it's such a new thing and they don't really know a whole lot about it. But I think the key is to get them to taste it. And then they're willing to understand and open up their minds.
Cannot wait for the comments. I can't wait.
No, it's so funny.
So good.
I love it. And when we talk a lot about Wagyu, we talk about how great it is, how good it is for you. But people immediately go, "Oh, well, I can't afford that. Like, there's no way I can afford that." And we always like to share, there's so many different cuts on the cow. So many different types of Wagyu beef, right? So a pound of A5 ribeye that costs you maybe $200. Yeah, a lot of people can't afford that, can't eat that every single night. But, if you want to get an F1 cross skirt steak, I mean, we sell that in our butcher shop for about $22 a pound, which is one of the best steaks you'll ever have in your life. And we sell to the Seattle Mariners. We sell a ton of the Denver steaks, the Zabutons. They come in and buy the heck out of them, man. They're awesome. But like those steaks will have these amazing Zabuton steaks, Denver steaks for like $18. And they look like the most amazing marbled, beautiful, full-blood steaks you'll ever see. And so that is so funny to me that people are just, they go immediately to like, yeah, it's Kobe. It's from Japan. this is fake here. You're just trying to, it's a marketing scheme. It's not real. But for us, we love to share that there's so many cuts. You can get them 15, 20, $30 and get a nice full blood ribeye for 80, $90 and share it with a couple people and have a great time.
You know how many times we've been called elitists? we're meat elitists. Like,
yes.
Whatever,
I love it.
Thanks for the compliment. I appreciate that. I do love meat. I love all meats, but I think
I love it.
When people say, "Oh, it's too expensive," it's like the first thing I'll say to them is, is your health too expensive? Like, have you been to the doctor lately? Like, I had my hip replaced 3 months ago, and not that was related to anything but football, but like, it's like $80,000 to get a joint replacement. Like, you go to the doctor, it's going to be a lot, thousands and thousands. If you take care of your health along the way, you're going to spend a heck of a lot less on all the diseases and all the injuries and all the problems that you have medically, because you're taking care of yourself. You're eating good quality, high nutritious meals that it's going to pay for itself in the long run. You're investing in your own health, which I'm willing to invest in my health and spend a little bit more. Now, granted, I'm in a different situation because I played in the NFL, but I get the idea of, thinking on the margin and like, okay, well, this box of macaroni and cheese is $2 and I can feed, 3 kids with that. But like, it's those decisions over time that you make with your own health and with the food that you're putting in your body that's going to lead to a lot of bad consequences down the line that are going to be way more costly than spending a little bit more to know where your food came from, to buy high quality, good, nutritious ingredients, whole foods, and make your own meal. Learn how to cook for yourself. Like, these are all the lessons that I'm trying to teach my kids that are going to pay huge dividends down the line. But on top of that, it's like you mentioned, okay, if I go to the local fast food burger joint with my 4 kids, it's going to be $75 or $100. So like, if I buy 2 or 3 pounds of Wagyu, you don't have to buy the ribeye, but if you're buying, like you said, like the Denver or Coulette or a tri-tip for the family, like, you're going to spend less than that. And you're going to have a meal that is not only way better for you, but it's going to be 10 times as tasty and memorable than if you just go down to the fast food place and you spend 80 or $100 on your family getting burger and fries.
And you might have leftovers.
Yeah, you have leftovers. And you know what? If we got a garden, it's pretty cheap to raise your own vegetables. And if you take some leftover Wagyu, like, you don't have to eat a pound of Wagyu every time you sit down. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't recommend eating a pound of ribeye every time you have a meal. But if you cut it up and you put it as part of a whole ingredient meal that you're making with some vegetables that you raised or you bought from the farmer's market, you can eat that for 2 or 3 meals and you can have an amazing experience. And it cost $100 and you were able to feed the family 3 meals, which is way cheaper than you can even buy crap that's already been prepackaged and you throw in the microwave for a few minutes and heat it up for dinner. It just takes a little bit of intentionality and a little bit of planning when you're making your meals. And it goes so far, not only with just the health benefits, but the enjoyment of what you're doing and what you're putting in your body and those meal times that you're experiencing with family and friends, and you're making those memories.
Love it. So true.
I love it, dude. So Evan and I both have kids, and his little meat turkey can pound.
She's 4.
He's 4, and she can pound a 10-ounce steak, no problem.
Like, no bullshit. She'll eat
That's
like a
awesome,
10-ounce steak, dude. I got an 18-year-old stepson, and she eats more meat than him. She's just
that's amazing.
Crazy. She's meat spoiled.
I've got a 14 and a half, almost 15-year-old boy who's playing basketball, so he eats a lot. Yeah. And a 9-year-old daughter who, when I ask her what she wants for her birthday dinner, she wants a Wagyu tenderloin.
Wow. She is bougie. You got your hands full there.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it.
We're training them right.
That's right. That's right.
No, I love it.
It is. I'll say one of the things that has been really cool about raising my own beef is, like, the kids feed them as calves. We give them a lot of them names. Now we have more than 5, so we don't have enough kids in my family to name all of our steers after our kids anymore. But like, them understanding that experience of, like, this is where my food comes from. This was the animal that I fed and that I cared for. And that was like a member of the family, lived an amazing life. And then now I get to enjoy that again. And it tastes really good because it's so hard for kids to get them to eat protein a lot of times because they usually want the processed crap with the added sugars. And the more sugars you eat, the more you're feeding the gut bacteria that wants more sugar, and it talks to your brain through the vagal nerve. Like, it just produces this vicious cycle. And so when we found, oh my gosh, my kids will eat my own beef because they know the animals, like, and they love it. It's like, wow, we need to hold on to this. And then we also make beef sticks and jerky with our stuff. And that is like the gateway drug for kids eating a lot of protein because they go crazy over the beef sticks. We make an apple cheddar beef stick. We don't dry it out. It's, you got to keep it refrigerated and it's vacuum sealed, but it's so moist and like the buttery mouthfeel that it has because our animals obviously have a lot more intermuscular fat, and it's just a different level. And now they ask for it for snacks instead of coming home and trying to eat popcorn or chips or candy or whatever. And like, it just makes me so happy as a dad that my kids are making better food choices because we made the decision to raise as much of the food that we're eating and putting on the table on our farm or in our backyard garden as possible. And then now, hopefully, we're setting in motion those healthy eating habits because food is medicine, like I said before.
You're right, and that's a good transition. I heard you say that you like treating your beef like pro athletes, like you feed them, you raise them, like you understand. Because I mean, to be in the NFL for 11 years and play over 10,000 consecutive snaps, like how you need to treat your body, and how your body reacts to stress, and what to feed your body. So, how do you treat these animals like pro athletes?
Yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, I didn't grow up on a farm. I grew up outside of Milwaukee in the suburbs. I was always a country boy. I always loved going outside and fishing and hunting and camping with my dad. That's like what we did as a family. We didn't take trips to Florida or wherever. Like, we went outside into Canada and did a canoe trip up in Quetico or the Boundary Waters in Minnesota. And like, that's what we did as a family. And so I was always a country boy at heart, but never had a farm until 2012 when we bought that. But at that point, I realized like how joyful it was to raise some of your own stuff and have that little space in the country to be able to go to with family and make those memories. And it was really cool for me to be able to see the kids like really adapt to that farm lifestyle. And we actually, during COVID, lived out there for 5 or 6 months just on the farm with the kids. We did the homeschooling thing and stuff. But it's been really easy for me to understand the importance of the detail in raising Wagyu and getting that finished product that's highly marbled, that's highly nutritious. Because going back to my background in the NFL, like, we were obsessed with nutrition. Now, I didn't always know a lot about it early on because I mentioned like I was a little guy trying to gain weight. So I just ate everything. I just knew I had to feel like every time I pushed away from that table, I had to feel like I just finished the Thanksgiving meal. Right. And that's just how I had to have that mentality. I mean, I was eating like a pint of ice cream before bed with a sleeve of Girl Scout cookies. And then I'd wash it down with like 20 ounces of whole milk because I just needed those calories. But then kind of like losing weight when I retired, went through that wellness health journey and really started learning how food affected my body. And then understanding as a pro athlete how important nutrition is and like how it affects your body, how important stress, sleep is, and things like that, and how they really truly affect you in a significant way, and being able to feel those things. And then reading how to raise Wagyu and listening to podcasts like your guys's and listening to people like Dr. Sheila Patinkin from Vermont Wagyu, and understanding like, okay, there are so many similarities to how a pro athlete has to eat and train and treat their body to how we have to handle and treat these animals, from the way we care for them, for the way we handle them with a very low stress environment. You're never pushing them, never doing anything that they really don't want to do, and just handling them with velvet gloves, right? And you get an amazing product when you do things the right way. And then understanding, like, I think one of the challenges of people that grew up farming, it's like you did what your dad did, and he does what his grandpa did. And so you kind of learn those things, and it works for them, right? Because obviously it's really hard being a family farmer. Like, the margins are tiny. Yeah. And so they're afraid to change what they've always done that's worked, that's kept the farm and the family for a long time. Whereas me, I'm coming into this game like I don't really know anything. So I'm willing to try anything. And so, trying to humble myself, have no ego, and talk to as many people as possible about what's the right way to do these things. And so I'm like, probiotics. Of course, I want probiotics for my animals. Like gut health is huge for humans. Of course, it's huge for a ruminant that's got way more gut than I do. He's got lots of stomachs, and like their ability to digest and use nutrition, and then how that affects their quality of their meat. Like that makes perfect sense to me. So yeah, of course, we need the vitamins, we need the minerals, we need the probiotics, we need the right balanced rations. We need to keep the stress super low. We need to reduce their cortisol. We need to do all these things because the finished product tells us that it matters. And so it's been really easy for me to understand. And I don't try to act like I know everything about Wagyu, but when I hear stuff and I learn new things, it always is, that light bulb's like, yeah, that makes sense, because that's exactly how a pro athlete would treat their body.
Yeah, absolutely. God, that's awesome to hear, though, that we're so big on where your meat comes from and how it's raised, and there's so many terrible beef stories, and we all know big egg and everything like that, and big beef, how awful some of that stuff can be. And that's why we try to talk to all these different farmers that really understand how to raise cattle, and especially with Wagyu. That's why I think we are so drawn to Wagyu, is because it's really hard to cut corners. These things, they take longer to raise. You have to do it the right way, and if you cut corners, you're losing out on they're more expensive, so you're losing out on some of that money at the end of the day. And so, man, for me, I just think, we're so excited about this product, about having Joe Thomas on Team Wagyu, man. Like I keep going back to it, man. But let's. I think Dr. Sheila Patinkin is probably going to jump in. I told her to jump in here pretty soon. But let's talk about, before that, I wanted to get into, we spoke a little bit earlier about Germany, about you going over to Germany to coach football in Germany. And we like to talk about Wagyu all over the world, because everybody knows it comes from Japan. We have American Wagyu in the United States. And after that, we get it in Australia, New Zealand, of course. But after that, there's not a lot of talk about it. So did you see any Wagyu beef and cool meat over in Germany while you're over there?
I did. So we were living in Munich. I was coaching the Munich Ravens professional football team, and Munich's a really cool melting pot city. It's got all these big multinational corporations and people coming in from all over the world to work there. And so they've got some great restaurants, tons of Michelin restaurants, tons of just great butcher shops, and great restaurants that cater to all these international cuisines. So we did get to eat really, really well when we were over there. And we did see quite a few restaurants. La Boheme was one it's a French steakhouse that was right around the corner from our apartment. So we ate there a bunch, and that was kind of the date night, because they had Wagyu from Japan and Australia and the United States, and they had, Angus from the United States. So there was a lot of similar type restaurants like that, and we got to experience a lot of beef from all over the world. But I will say, not to hate on the Germans, but they don't really raise great beef over there, because they just don't have the capabilities, the setup. They don't have a large enough pastures. They don't have lush enough pastures, because especially like in the southern part of the country, the fertility in the soil is just not there to be able to really handle raising really high quality beef. So the beef that we got locally was okay. We ate a lot more pork and a lot more chicken when we were over there, actually, because they do a really good job with pork. And like pork is like in every dish in Germany, smothered in gravy. So not maybe the healthiest thing all the time, but it was really cool being able to go to some of these steakhouses that you walk in. They've got the big dry or wet ager refrigerator in front, and it's got steaks that are hanging from literally all over the world. And then you can kind of decide and choose, like, well, I'd like to try the Japanese Kobe today. I'd like to try, the American certified Angus, and just getting that opportunity to taste the different flavor profiles, different tenderness, different mouthfeels. And I'll never hate on any protein unless it was just raised really poorly or not handled the right way. Because, man, I love chicken, I love pork, I love lamb, I love everything you can imagine that's got high protein, because it's just delicious, and my body loves me for it when I put it in there.
So if you had to cook a steak, what cut is your favorite? And we talk about this. I get upset when people when they look at Wagyu and they go, no, just give me a ribeye. And I'm like, cool. Yeah. Well, like, what type of ribeye? Like, what if there's an F1 cross ribeye, or a prime ribeye, or a choice ribeye, or a Wagyu ribeye, or A5 ribeye? So if you had to cook a steak, what type of meat on the scale of Wagyu or choice or prime, what would you have? What cut, and what would you have?
So typically what I would do if I had friends over, I'd make like an appetizer. And this was not Wagyu. This is just, regular Angus or any other domestic breed. And I'll do a skirt steak. and I'll put like a Jamaican seasoning on it. And I'll sous vide it for like 5 or 6 hours to make it super tender. And then I'll just hit it really quick on the grill to just get a nice char on the outside. And it's got such amazing flavor to it because of the high fat profile. Even if you're just getting like a choice cut skirt, it's fairly cheap. And it's got great flavor. It's got unbelievable marbling and fat to it that just really melts in your mouth. And then when I put that Jamaican seasoning on it, like the jerk seasoning, it has a little bit of sugar in there, so it kind of caramelizes. You get that Maillard reaction on the outside, and then you just slice it thin. And everyone loves it as like a little appetizer with toothpicks, or throw it in a taco, do whatever you want with it. It's really good. But as far as the Wagyu goes, like I've always been a strip guy, and I just love New York strip. And I'm learning too, like the right way to cook Wagyu is a little bit lower. You don't want to throw it right on a hot flame, like put it in the cast iron. I did a ribeye a couple days ago in a wood fired oven in a cast iron, and you slide it in there with a little bit of Wagyu beef tallow on the bottom. So it kind of like sizzles on the bottom, and then it's getting that infrared heat from the wood fired oven on the top. And it came out just unbelievable. Oh my gosh, my mouth is watering.
Coming over, dude. I want some meat.
Let's go. Oh man, so
great.
good.
I love it.
Getting some meat sticks. We're gonna have our
baby.
New York strip.
So when you have a New York strip, this is me and Tyler's favorite. There's that nice fat cap on top. Are you cutting that off, or are you doing what Chef Tyler does, is cutting it into little pieces so you have a bite of fat and a bite of meat with every single bite?
Oh yeah. So what I did this week when I was doing in that wood fired oven, start with that fat cap, right? Try to render that fat as much as possible, and then sear both sides. But then when I cut it, I make sure that each cut has a little bit of that fat cap in it, so you're able to enjoy that. And it was great because that fat cap almost turns into like beef bacon when you start it on the cast iron like that. So it gets really super crispy, and that crispiness is so good because the Wagyu beef is so tender. It literally like melts in your mouth when you put it in there. So having that little bit of crispiness from that fat, that like beef bacon, just adds a good contrast, I think, in your mouth to the buttery Wagyu meat with that crispy fat on the outside. It just is the perfect bite.
That's how I like my culotte.
Yeah, the culotte. Yeah, that's another great one that we love to do.
I like to do whole roasted culotte too. Like I'll just I score the fat a little bit. Slide it in the cast iron pan and just leave it fat side down and roast the whole thing in the oven.
So good. I love it.
Tri-tip like that is
the fat on. That's Chef Tyler's one. The fat on tri-tip is his go-to, dude.
So good.
Do you smoke it, or do you like reverse sear?
Both.
Of course. That's the beauty of Wagyu, is like you can take any cut on the animal and you can cook it almost any way, as long as you don't burn it and throw it right on a hot flame, and it's going to be incredible because every piece has got that tenderness. And that was one of the things, as I had already decided, like Wagyu's it. But then I started realizing, like, oh my gosh, like for somebody who's raising these animals and trying to sell it all, right? I don't want to just grind it all up into burgers or put them all in beef sticks. Like it's great to have some of these off cuts that maybe if you had it off of a domestic or commercial breed, like it'd be a little tough. It'd be like, you have to be very good as a chef to be able to cook some of these other cuts and make them really tasty for people. But with the Wagyu, like anybody can take it home. And as long as they have some level of experience in the kitchen, they're going to make any cut amazing.
Dude, we love that. We talk about that there's so many more stakeable items on the cow, on a Wagyu cow. And then when people tell me it's too expensive, I'm like, well, don't get the ribeye. Don't get the Hollywood cuts. Let's get something else. You could get a picanha or a Wagyu top sirloin even is like one of the greatest cuts we've ever cooked in here. Like it's unbelievable. And we went to this Wagyu auction at Bar R Ranch in Eastern Washington, which is like Dr. Jerry Reeves, just, one of the old school, one of the godfathers up there, on Mount Rushmore of Wagyu. It's his farm, and his daughter helps him run it as well now too, Arlie, and she's a big fan of the show. She's one of our connects over there, man. And they did a demonstration. They were cutting the leg. They took a whole leg of the cow, and they were cutting steaks off of it. And it was so crazy. They were testing it, like, can this be tender enough? Is this not? And most of it, like 80% of it, was like amazing. We're eating it like we're eating a New York strip, just cutting into it, and it was unreal, And so, like, there's so much more, because in the beef industry, where does the ground go? That's the biggest thing. I've got this 1,000-pound cow. Everybody wants the goddamn ribeyes and New Yorks and tenderloins, and nobody else wants anything else. So like, where's all this grind gonna go? But now if we can make them into stakeable items and people can just take them and cook easily, like, to me, it's next level. It's like this amazing animal that is just gonna be next level, and they're gonna be cheaper too. Like I said, you could get a great steak for $20. So the accessibility is amazing.
Think about the value in that animal too, with more stakeable
Real.
items. You know, I mean, because choice Angus hind leg, there's not much to get out of there. I mean, you're not going to do top round roast every day. You know? So, like, but you know, with Wagyu and the intermuscular fat content and all that, there's so many more cuts in the animal.
Yeah,
the value is just huge.
One of the things that I'm really passionate about is trying to promote small family farms, right? And that's why I love your podcast, because you're talking about where does your food come from? Where does your beef come from? How is it raised? And I think as I'm looking at the market as a whole for beef and for farm raised products, times are really tough for small family farmers right now, because the big guys, they're getting more efficient and the margins are getting smaller. But I think promoting Wagyu is so great, because not because I just wanted to buy Hall of Fame beef, but I think Wagyu is a breed that actually can allow a lot of these small family farms that might be going out of business in the next 20 years a viable option to be able to compete with the commercial feedlots. Because I know one thing is, like, with embryo transfer right now and the genetics that a lot of these big commercial feedlots have access to, they're able to raise some really pretty high quality stuff, and it doesn't cost them that much. And they have the scale to be able to outcompete the small family farmer. But with Wagyu, it takes a lot more time, care, calm handling, patience to be able to develop the marbling that gives you that premium experience that the commercial people just can't do. Because the one thing that scale does is it gives you an opportunity to beat people on price. But what it doesn't do is allow you to custom raise each individual animal, know every animal by name, know their personality, know what they need from a feed standpoint, and to change and to be able to give that quality and care that Wagyu needs to be able to express their genetics fully. And then you're able to get that premium when you sell it. And so versus mass-produced beef, I think the small family farmer, you're going to go out of business if you're trying to outcompete with the big people. But with Wagyu, they're not going to be able to give that care that it needs to be able to express those genetics. So it gives the small family farmer a viable option and ability to kind of keep the doors open and keep that small family farm in the family name and pass it down from the next generation. Because I think Wagyu is that difference maker that I think a lot more family farms need to look into and really dive into the way me and my family have, because it is that thing that we can do better than the big commercial feedlot operators and the people that are buying beef from all over the country and shipping them into these big feedlots, because Wagyu just doesn't turn out well enough to be able to draw that premium price when it is raised in those huge scale manners.
I love that. I love that. I was actually just going to ask you about scaling Wagyu beef, and I think that was a perfect answer, because I like to talk about where's Wagyu going in the next 10 years, and that is a perfect answer to it, because you can compete now, and that makes such a world of difference, because it's just going to make better beef. And you're right, the big dogs, they don't got time for it. They got to just pump out as much as possible, as fast as possible. And so that's exactly why we love talking to all these family farms. And speaking of talking to family farms, we are joined here by Dr. Sheila Patinkin of Vermont Wagyu. Hello. How are you doing, Dr. Sheila? I think you might be muted. Let's try it again here. Oh, can't hear you.
Oh, I had myself muted. My miss.
Oh, no problem. Hey, so we are joined here by Dr. Sheila Patinkin of Vermont Wagyu. We spoke with you about a month ago. It was such an amazing conversation. You are you'd be on the Mount Rushmore of Wagyu beef here, I like to always say, in the United States. Head of the American Wagyu Association, president of the American Wagyu Association for a few years. And so why are you joining us, Dr. Sheila? What's the significance here between you and Hall of Fame beef here with Mr. Joe Thomas?
Well, Joe, do you want me to field this one? Joe is
Sure.
about to
Go
receive
ahead.
a truckload of Vermont Wagyu products.
Yes. Yes.
Am I coming through all right? Of Wagyu cows.
Yep. We got you.
Okay. Did
Yeah.
that come through okay?
Yeah, we got you. So you guys
Good.
are working together. Joe's purchasing some of the Vermont Wagyu herd and is going to start his own Wagyu herd at Six Springs Farm. Is that correct?
That's right.
Wow. Wow.
So we have some of the nicest animals in the herd that are headed Joe's way. We know that he'll take good care of them. We're very proud to be able to share some of our livestock with Joe.
You know, you do have some of the nicest beef. You sent us one of the most amazing Wagyu ribeyes that I've ever seen, and it was so good that I actually went on your website and ordered more for Father's Day. I was like, I gotta have some.
And I missed it.
I'm cooking this stuff.
Usually I catch it when somebody orders that I know, but I guess I missed your name.
No,
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It's amazing, and it's really great. You know, when we talked about, you know, you're on the East Coast. We don't know a lot of people that are on the East Coast raising Wagyu, and you have done such an amazing job throughout the years. You know, just branding and you know, helping grow the whole entire Wagyu industry. And so, what does it feel like now to have someone like Joe Thomas take on some of these cattle of yours and be able to push it through his network and hopefully expand Wagyu even more?
You know, it's actually part of my dream is really to be able to spread and build the herd. And when you've got somebody like Joe who can give the time and attention and the artisanal expertise to the animals themselves, it makes me feel really good that, first of all, they're going to a great home. And second of all, that he's going to build on what we have been building, what we've taken years and years to breed into these animals. So I'm very happy for Joe, and I know that he'll do just a great job with these animals.
Joe, why did you pick Vermont Wagyu?
Well, it's interesting. So about 4 years ago or so, when I had that Wagyu experience in Rome, and I was like, dude, we need Wagyu. We found a local producer that had Akaushi, and so we got into Akaushi first. And so we're raising some F1s, some purebred Akaushis. And then I started doing more research and realizing, okay, if my goal is this passion project called Hall of Fame Beef, where I'm trying to raise the best steaks, the best beef on planet Earth from a taste standpoint and a quality and a health standpoint, I think we need black Wagyu because they are clearly the number one Wagyu sub-breed within the Wagyu game. And so we went to an auction down in Texas this past year, the M6 Wagyu auction, one of the biggest Wagyu auctions in America. And at that point, I realized, okay, we need to do embryo transfer. We need to find some high-level semen because I want to kickstart this and get this going as fast as possible. Like, I don't want to have my kids creating the best beef on planet Earth. I want to do it and then pass it on to them. And so we went down there, we bought 6 cows and we bought a bull, and then we started harvesting embryos and semen and stuff. But then after that, my 2 ranch hands, they started when they were in middle school mowing lawn for me, right?
Wow.
And awesome. They grew up in farming country. Their grandparents had beef, but they didn't have an obvious way to take over a family farm. It's so expensive to buy a farm. And they always had told me, like, hey, we would love to work for you for the rest of our life, but we'd really love to raise beef. And so they started helping me when they were even in high school. And then now they're 20 and 22 and they are full-time. They are my dudes, my supermen on the farm every single day doing everything that you can imagine. So I couldn't be down there at the auction. So I sent them down there with some instructions. And as you can imagine, if you go to like some of these big cattle auctions, right, there's this 2 dweebs from Wisconsin, 20 and 22 years old, never been on an airplane before. And they're raising their paddle when these cows are going through at like $20,000, $30,000. And so everyone's like looking around like, who the hell are these guys? You can't afford that. And so after it was all over, the M6 owners kind of got to know Hayden and Sawyer, who worked for me, and kind of kept in touch. And then it wasn't too long after that they got a message saying, hey, there's this producer out in Vermont, Vermont Wagyu, that is interested in selling a large majority of their breeder cows, their genetic cows, because they're kind of stepping in a different direction and going to focus a little bit more on raising feeders and fats through all the genetic process and progress that they've made over 20 years. And they're looking for a good home, basically, for their animals, right? And somebody who's going to kind of continue the legacy, do things the same way from the same value standpoint, and try to kind of continue to like push the ball down the field a little bit from what they've already done. And when I heard that they kind of reached out to us and they heard about our story, I was like, oh, absolutely. Let's go. I need to get on the phone immediately and talk to whoever these people are. And so then I dove in and started doing the research and realized like, okay, not only have they been in the game for a long time, Vermont Wagyu, but they're the best in the game. And they've been doing it for a long time. And they're using the same process with the same values as we do, which was really important to me because I didn't want to change any of my values in how we're raising these animals. Like the care for the animals, the feed, everything that goes into it is really important. And I think that was originally why we stumbled into raising really good beef, was because of how we treated the animals, the pastures that we have along the banks of the Blue River, the fact that we're not shipping them all over the place. We got everything right there. They just move less than a mile when they go up in the winter to where they winter in our barn. So like we wanted somebody that had the same values and ideas and vision for their cattle as we did. Dr. Sheila's obviously at Vermont Wagyu done way more than anybody else in the country that I know of for the genetic process and the way that they've bred their animals and the way they've finished their animals. And it speaks in the steaks and what's on your plate in front of you. So it was just a matter of figuring out how quickly can we get these animals out here. So we got the first group, a month or so, 2 months ago maybe, and started harvesting some embryos. We were able to get some steers, some feeder steers from them as well, because we said, hey, we want to be able to offer some of this amazing quality product pretty soon to our consumers. We don't want to have to wait 4 years from right now to be able to now start offering Hall of Fame 100% Japanese Wagyu with the Vermont Wagyu genetics that are the best in the country, that are consistently winning best steaks in the USA awards. And so it's been just really awesome. And it's humbling for me to know that the Sheila Patinkin, who's on the Mount Rushmore of raising Wagyu, found us and saw our story and realized and said that, hey, this is the farm. This is where I want my herd that I put so much into my life to be able to take them and hopefully kind of continue along in the same manner that we've done. So it's really been an exciting year for us in the Black Wagyu business and game. And I'm so excited and humbled that Dr. Sheila continues to put her trust in us.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Joe. Those are kind words.
I love it. Hey, whenever we talk to anybody in the Wagyu game, they always know Dr. Sheila. And so, yeah, you chose a good one. Absolutely, for sure, man. And like I said, we tried that Wagyu. We even had some people who typically didn't like Wagyu beef or thought they didn't like Wagyu beef. When we cooked up that ribeye, we were like, hey, bro, get over here and try this. And you're like, oh, actually, this is really good.
Don't get me started, Ev.
So did Jess send you the steak that was 52% IMF?
Oh.
Yeah.
So that steak, that ribeye portion, is going to be entered into the American Wagyu Association steak whimsy. So it's pretty amazing.
We're going to be hosting that in Idaho.
Saw that.
Yeah, we're going to be hosting that. Best steak in America from the American Wagyu Association. Oh, that's going to be fun. Yeah, that steak was like insane. We were looking at it and we were like, this is the closest thing I've ever seen to A5. Like it was, we're like this. Yeah. I asked people and they were like, yeah, I think that's A5. I was like, oh, it's full blood, raised in America. So,
better yet, Evan, it's American A5 or the
American A5. That's
past Japanese beef.
I love that. There should be an American A5 here soon. I know that'll piss off some people, but we always talk about why we aren't using the Japanese marbling scale, but we should have that. I mean, that would have qualified. It was unreal when we held that up. I was like, we're taking it out of the bag. We're like, what the hell is this? I love it. Hey Joe, how much A5 can you eat in one sitting?
Ooh, I can still eat a lot, even though I'm not 310 pounds anymore. I can put a hurt on myself because I probably eat a couple pounds of it, but then I'm not going to feel good for a little while. That's a lot of richness. I'm going to have to eat a lot of roughage with
Yeah.
that meal to be able to handle all that
Oh
delicious fat.
man. Yeah, we don't encourage people to eat over a pound. That'll
Not in one meal, at least.
yeah, exactly. That'll hurt you. That'll hurt you. Oh my god, I love it. That is so. Man, that's so awesome. And when we're talking about, I mean, genetics are such a big part of Wagyu, and people will say that, oh no, it's the feed. Well, yes, the feed is amazing. The feed helps so much, but it's the foundation to us is the genetics. And so you chose, Dr. Sheila Patinkin's Vermont Wagyu genetics. What are you feeding these cattle? Are you going to go grass fed, grass finished? Are you going to add some corn in there since you're in the Midwest? How's that going to go?
Yeah. So the first steers that we finished, we were just finishing on grass because we didn't think anything of it. We're like, oh, we got great pasture. Here we go. And it was great. I do a lot of hunting, so I'm used to eating a lot of game, and that doesn't bother me if it's grassy or gamey at all. And it had a little bit of that, but I kind of liked it. But I noticed that a lot of people who are not used to eating venison and stuff like that, with the grass fed, they didn't really love that, right? They like the corn fed, they like the beefiness that they're used to. And so we kind of changed our finishing ration where now we raise all of our alfalfa hay and corn silage. We raise non-GMO corn silage. And so our ration has the brewer's mash, the corn silage that we raise, and then our alfalfa hay, minerals, probiotics. And that's kind of what we're going with. But one of the things that I was so excited about having that partnership with Dr. Sheila was just to be able to tap into their knowledge base of a couple decades of, hey, this is what we've tried, because we've tried a lot of stuff, and this is what we really think works really well. And to be able to kind of accelerate our program, 2 decades right away from not only the genetic side, but how you finish those animals, and being able to use Dr. Sheila as a resource. And that was one of the things that when we had our first call, and I think we were kind of vetting each other a little bit, I was like, will you be a resource for us? Because this is just as important as buying the great genetics, because you can buy fantastic genetics, right, at an auction or something. It's going to cost you a lot, but like that's available. But for having Vermont Wagyu and Dr. Sheila as a resource to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, we're having this problem, or we need some consultation on these things, and to be able to get those answers, to me, that's worth even more than the amazing genetics and the cows and the bulls that we got from Dr. Sheila, because to me, that's invaluable.
But we're always here.
And that's what's great about the Wagyu industry that we found as well, is everybody's willing to really, give up that information and talk openly. I mean, I talk to I call so many ranchers all over the US now, and everyone is like, they tell me what they feed, and like, no one's really keeping these secrets, because everybody wants this industry to grow, because it should grow, because it's good for you beef that tastes better than anything. And that's what I love about this industry right now, because we came into it, 2020, we were newbies with Wagyu, and all of a sudden we met Arlie at Bar R and Dr. Jerry Reeves, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, it just exploded, and we're talking to Dr. Sheila, and I'm talking to Akushi, legendary Akushi in the Midwest too, and like everybody just from all over, and it's just a fascinating industry, because it's so helpful, and everybody, like I said, they want this thing to grow, because it's just going to be better beef for the US, and it needs to. And that, right now, like, it's not even, I love to say, it's not even that much more expensive. Like, I keep pushing that up there because it like frustrates me so much, probably because I read like TikTok comments all day long, and that's all that people say, and I'm just like, God damn, I'm like replying to every single one. But it means so much, to be able to have these resources, like you said.
And I think one of the things we've learned after being in the Wagyu game for just a couple of years is, like you mentioned, how open and how much it feels like a big family, and how much people are willing to help each other. And I was surprised by that, because I would think that like people are going to be defensive and they don't want other people having their secrets and stuff. But one of the things I said earlier about how, especially the full blood Wagyu, it takes a level of care that only I think a family farmer is able to give. Like a huge scale farm can't can't handle raising full blood Wagyu because they just can't do it. They can't give that personalized care that you need, and they don't have the patience to raise an animal for 30 months. And I think that people in the Wagyu business realize that the Wagyu breed is what can potentially save the family beef farmer and the small farm, because it does give you enough profit to be able to live on. I mean, nobody's getting rich, but it'll give you the ability to make enough money to cover your costs, to be able to pass this on to the next generation, because it's a competitive advantage that we have over the big farms. And that's probably the only one that we have, because other than that, they're getting good genetics in the breeds that they're raising because of embryo transfers and the genetics improvements that they've had. They have this huge scale. They have all these other resources to be able to lower their overall costs, like a Walmart. And if you're going to try to do the same things that they do, you're going to lose because they're going to be able to sell it for cheaper. But Wagyu is different. I think the people that are in the game, they realize that, and that's why they want to help each other, because they see that this is the future of being able to save family farms long term. And I think, for most people in America, you dream of an America that has those family farms, that has those kids that are raised on the farm, that are doing their chores every day. They're feeding their cows, they're feeding their chickens. And it's not just a romantic idea. I think it's an idea that produces better food and better food quality. And I think people, maybe hopefully in the United States, are starting to understand how important that is for your health and wellness and your happiness, and just eating high quality foods.
Yes. So on that note, for both of you, how do we get Wagyu beef out to more consumers right now? Is it through restaurants? Is it through starting co-ops and selling, farm to consumer? What's the best way to like get this industry out there even more?
I think it's PR. There's a huge part of PR getting consumer awareness, but I would say the word is out. When I first started this, nobody even knew how to pronounce the word Wagyu or even what it was. And now I think the recognition of Wagyu in the grocery stores, I can find it even in my local supermarket here in Vermont. Yeah. So word is out. I think we just have to continue to build on the excellency of the meat. We cannot allow its standards to drop. Mm-hmm. And also just spreading the word through more and more PR and just doing our homework. Yeah.
No, I absolutely. And we talk a little bit about like commercial Wagyu, like that's a term that's starting to come out. And then we, last time we spoke, Dr. Sheila, you really were very high on pushing these small farms, especially these full-blood farms, and really letting people know that the quality is there with these small full-blood farms. What does that mean, in the Wagyu world right now? What is that, how is that going to push it through even further?
I think if we could get a consistent word of excellency out there, consistent grade, more importantly, and just knowing that the authenticity is there as well. It's really both things. It's authenticity, it's the grading of it. We have to keep those standards high. And if we let them fall, if we slip on them and allow a lower grade, a lower level of authenticity to get out there under the name Wagyu, then we're fooling ourselves. We're not going to be able to maintain the excellency of the breed.
Totally.
Well said. Absolutely.
Bobby and I talk about the grading a lot because we really want a world grading system, not just, because Australia has their own numbers and the 9s and the 12s and you got your A5, you got the F, blah, blah, blah. It's like kind of confusing for some people that don't really do a whole lot of research into what all those numbers mean. Yeah. So we're kind of going to bat a little bit, trying to get the world to all get together and decide on how we're going to grade all this beef. So then, it's a little bit more recognizable, I think, to people, the average consumer.
Yeah. Right.
I think one thing
Tyler,
that's cool that
I think that's something we have struggled with as the American Wagyu Association is what to use. And I think inevitably, if you were to approach the USDA, they would probably say, well, we're the United States. We're going to use the United States grading system. And it's kind of like saying to the United States, well, we'd like you to start using the metric system. But that's been in the works for I don't know how many years. And if you think that we're going to change suddenly from the imperial to the metric, that just isn't going to happen here. I think what we have to do is continuously work on improving the grades of prime that we have available. Right now, we've got
Mm-hmm.
4, and when I first started, we only had 1. So the
Mhm.
expansion to 4 is great. However, my Wagyu on average is above the 4th level, the highest level. So
Mhm.
we have our homework to do there. Prime has to continue to grow.
Love
No,
it.
I get it.
I think one of the cool things that I'm hearing that's coming down the line is an app on your phone that you can do some type of grading. Like if you're Joe Blow and you're in the grocery store or in your butcher shop, to be able to use that app that can help tell you like what is the grading scale, and maybe if we get an American grading scale that more accurately reflects different levels of full blood Wagyu, it would help too. But
Yeah.
I think just having that understanding, because I had a conversation this winter with a very popular, very high-end steakhouse in Wisconsin, and the guy was like, "Hey, I just want to make sure that if we buy your beef, it's going to be graded as prime, because we promote that we only serve prime beef." And I was like, "Do you realize that this Wagyu is like twice as marbled as prime? Like the
Yeah.
worst full-blood Wagyu I have is going to be prime plus." So
Yeah.
I don't think that's a problem, but the fact that like our grading scale ends at like a C minus. Like in school, you're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Dad, how'd you do?" "Well, I got 100 on the test and it was a C minus." Like, what? What are you
I
doing?
know. Oh my God.
Sorry, we just don't have A's. They don't give them out. I don't know. And so it's hard for me to like wrap my mind around that in the United States. Like people think prime is the greatest thing on earth, when really prime is like where Wagyu starts. Like even your F1s, your American Wagyu, like you're probably going to hit prime for the most part if you're handling and you're finishing them the right way.
For sure.
And that's unfortunate that there's so many people in the food industry that still don't understand like the difference, that they're like, "Oh, well, is this Wagyu going to be at least prime?" You're like, man, like these people, we did a podcast on is Wagyu a scam, and debunked it, of course. But one of our examples was that we had a guy who's been in this industry for so long in the food and bev industry that was like, "I just don't like Wagyu. I think it's kind of a marketing scam." And we're like, "Dang, like you have been here for so long, but still like had no idea." And he was actually the guy who tried Dr. Sheila's Vermont Wagyu, and he was like, "Oh, this is pretty good."
I got a believer in him now. But I think the power of having an app on your phone and giving
huge.
people that knowledge would be great, because even if you're not buying anything, I would go to the store and just like be checking stuff out and getting that grading on my phone, and having that feedback just gives you more power and more information in the hands of the consumer so that they can educate themselves rather than just relying on a label that is so outdated that it really doesn't tell the story of what you're looking at.
Agreed. And we, I love to, get us all talking the same language. And Tyler and I kind of go back and forth because we'll mention, "Oh, is this F3, F4? Is this full blood? Is this purebred?" For you guys, I want to ask the question, do you think we should do the F1, F2, F3, F4, or should we keep it as F1, F2, pure blood, full blood?
Yeah.
I'll let Dr. Sheila handle
That's
that one
been
first.
batted around for a long time.
Yes.
I think it's very hard for the consumer to understand F2, F3, F4.
Mm-hmm.
And even purebred versus full blood is tough.
Yeah.
Right.
I think, again, that's going to be in the hands of the breeders to decide down the road. I don't want to speak for them. Obviously, I'd love to see full blood Wagyu 100% all over Vermont Wagyu's beef.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I am in Facebook and I look at the Wagyu breeders, like there's a bunch of clubs and stuff. I'm in there. I'm just reading the comments. People are saying the breeders do use the F1, F2, F3, F4, and it is it's kind of easy for me to understand, but I don't know. I just feel like full blood is such a good term for it instead of like, "Oh, it's F4 or whatever." I just feel like that for the American consumer, like that full blood is just such a better term to like get people to understand that this is like 100% genetics from Japan that can be traced back to Japan. I don't know. That's just
I think full blood's a good label. I think the American Wagyu confuses people because it is confusing if you don't know a whole lot about it. It's like, well, American Wagyu means they're basically crossbreeds with a domestic or a continental breed. But if you say, "Yes, I'm raising full blood Wagyu in America," they're like, "Well, is that American Wagyu?" Well, not really. It's actually quite different, So it leads to a lot of confusion. And actually, I think some of the bigger Wagyu producers, I think they use that to their advantage, because typically the bigger guys, like the huge scale farmers, ranchers, are raising American Wagyu because it's faster, right? They don't have to put their animals on feed as long, so they can turn them over and they can produce more beef, and they're raising American Wagyu. And most people, I think, they see that and they think, oh, it's full blood Japanese Wagyu raised in America, when really it's kind of a different product. So if I had to vote on something, I do like the F1 system, but it is confusing for a consumer, and it almost doesn't matter. Was it F1, F2, F3? I don't know. It doesn't really matter as long as it grades a certain way. I think to me that tells more of a story than saying it's an F3 or an F1. Just knowing, hey, this is a cross, and this is how it marbled, this is how it graded, is the most important. And then boom, full blood. It's different. This is a full blood breed, just like certified Angus, which we raise. Hey, this is different. This is 100% Angus. This is 100% Wagyu. If it's in the middle, what is the grade?
Yeah, exactly. I guess you're right. To the consumer, like, does it look like good beef? Does it look like good beef that you would want to purchase? This is it marbled enough for you, and is it at a good price point? Then you should pick it up. But yeah, the Fs, I think that they kind of confuse people, but it's just, I just want us all to use the same language, because we all speak differently. And when I look at Wagyu groups, it's like, it's always different. I'm like, man, like, if I'm having trouble understanding this, like, we dive into this all day long, and I'm like, dude, like, the guy who comes into the butcher shop is going to have no idea at the end of the day. So you got to keep educating. That's a number one thing.
It blows my mind when somebody comes into the butcher shop and then actually does their research. I'm like, oh, well, what is that, a purebred? I'm like, wow, okay, let's talk.
Hey, there we go.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I think this is all in front of FSIS, the labeling gurus of the country right now. And they're struggling with how to deal with these issues and what to call it. And I think we're going to hear a whole lot more about this down the road.
Good. I want to keep talking about it, because I think it is, it's just, it gets confusing to that consumer, and that's the last thing that the Wagyu industry needs, because, people are already upset by thinking that this American is fake Wagyu beef, which is not. So yeah, having the same names is just going to help so much. So what else, Joe, do you think that people need to know about Wagyu beef? I know are you limited on time? Are we doing okay?
We're doing good. Yeah, we're doing good.
Okay, good.
What else do people need to know about Wagyu? I'm not sure. I think we've covered the big things. I mean, just the experience of eating Wagyu is different, right? The mouthfeel, the texture, the way it melts in your mouth like M&Ms, not in your hand. It's amazing.
That's fine.
And then the wellness side of it, I think, is really an important side that people need to understand, as people hopefully are starting to educate themselves on what they're putting in their body, and how food is medicine, and how it affects you, how it affects your health, and how you feel, and your energy that you have on a daily basis. But I think as people are getting more curious about Wagyu, just teaching them how to cook it, I think, is important, because I had a friend the other day that bought some and just threw it right on his charcoal grill, right on these super hot coals and flames, and it just chars up, and he still loved it because it's still so good and so much better than what he was used to. And I'm like, didn't it taste acrid and bitter? Because you burned the crap out of it. Like, you wouldn't take a pork shoulder and throw it right on the grill and then think it's going to be amazing. And so I think that's probably one of the things that I hope that people start to learn. And there's lots of resources. That's a great thing about today's social media generation and YouTube. Like, it's really easy to go out and find, all right, I got a zabuton, or I got a Denver, or I got a skirt, whatever it is. What's the right way to cook it? And just being a little bit more delicate, using reverse sear or sous vide or oven or cast iron, like, just make sure that super hot flame is not right on top of it, because I think you're going to lose some of the value of Wagyu when all that fat drips out and just turns into a giant inferno.
For sure.
No, absolutely. So, Chef Tyler, how do you cook the perfect Wagyu full-blood ribeye?
Oh yeah, that's
cast iron all day, buddy. Cast iron all day.
You're doing cast iron.
Wagyu tallow, and honestly, I only use salt.
Yep.
Because I'm such a purist of tasting and enjoying these different cuts of beef, different fat levels. So maybe a little bit of a dry brine overnight in the fridge, and then a hot cast iron pan, Wagyu tallow, slow roasted, maybe poêle, little herbs and garlic, and you know my style. That's my jam right there. It's my
Yeah,
favorite.
I love that, man. I love that. I am more of a griller. I just like to be outside grilling, so I'll grill. You know, a lot of people say don't grill Wagyu, but I keep it at a really high level. Like I raise it about 8 to 9 inches above that flame. That's always my trick, and I start it there, and then I kind of toss it down on that flame, and then I pull it off and I put it back up. And it's like a dance. It just takes me forever, but I don't know. It's part of the craft that I love doing it. And that's how I cooked, the Vermont Wagyu steak that I got for Father's Day. I put them up real high, get them going. Then I kind of get a little bit of that sear and then I pull it up. But yeah, I'm always going to grill. I just love it. Or smoke to reverse sear. I just like being outside with that Wagyu and smelling it. There's something about
So
it.
good.
It just,
So good.
I just love it so much, man. Oh gosh. Well, and we just had was it Adam Wackel of Plum Creek Wagyu, and he was sitting in his pen, his feeding pen, with 100 animals that were just chilling out. And I wanted to ask you, Joe, do you wish that maybe James Harrison or Terrell Suggs had a little bit of that Wagyu blood to make it a little coming off the
That
end?
would have been nice. It would have saved me a lot of headaches, that's for sure. A lot of sleepless nights going into those games because, yeah, that is
Yeah.
one of the cool things too. Like when we first got into beef, I told the guy I was buying from, I said, these animals are gonna be around my kids, so I can't have any crazy animals. And we were
Mhm.
raising Simmental Angus, and he did a great job breeding for docile animals, which I think it helps in the marbling too, right? They're not so
Yeah,
stressed, they're not so worried, they're not running around all over the place. They're easier to
totally.
handle and be around.
Yeah,
But then the Wagyu is just a different level. Like you go up to there, they just don't give a shit. They're just looking right at you. They're like,
funny.
"Hey, what are you doing?"
What's up, bro?
I don't feel like walking over there, so I'm just gonna stand here. Like that part of me is a little lazy and really enjoys just sitting there and eating a good meal. And I feel like I'm a kindred spirit with the Wagyu because sometimes I just want to sit there, watch football, and eat a good steak.
Oh my God, there's nothing better than that. Wow, there's nothing better than that. So what can people expect from Six Springs Farms, right? You're doing a launch here of Hall of Fame beef. I know it's already sold out, or the first portion is sold out, but tell us what's coming up next.
Yeah, so we've up until this point just sold our Angus and our Simmental Angus,
Mhm.
but on August 16th, right in the middle of August or so, we're going to start being able to offer the full blood Wagyu and then the F1 and American Wagyu because we were able to buy some feeders from Dr. Sheila. We're able to now provide that full blood Wagyu sooner than we had hoped, which is so exciting. We've been raising the F1s and the Akaushis for a while, and so now they're finally going to be ready. But yeah, we're excited. We're launching the whole thing in August where we're selling the full bloods, the American Wagyu, and also we're rendering tallow now from the animals that we're harvesting, which is super exciting because, like I mentioned, when I was cooking the strip this earlier this week, just putting that tallow down on the cast iron just to get it started a little bit so it doesn't burn
Yes.
right at the beginning is so nice. And my wife is big into the beauty products and stuff, so she's all excited about, hey, we got to get this tallow, we got to make soap and with our honeybees and all this stuff. So just kind of exploring and having fun with that is cool. And we hope that people will grow with us as we're expanding our product line into other goofy things that my wife has and my kids have ideas of, raising honeybees and making Wagyu beef tallow soap, and my father-in-law is going to do maple syrup for us. So it's just a fun family adventure here, and thanks to Dr. Sheila, we're now able to provide some of the best beef on planet Earth, and hoping to be able to dial it up a notch every single time that we're raising another animal.
That's so cool. So you're going to do straight to consumer. People can order through your website.
Yep. So you can go to our website, halloffamebeef.com or sixspringsfarms.com, and you can order direct to consumer. So we'll ship it right to your house. Prem Meats in Spring Green, Wisconsin is our partner. They do all of our harvesting and our processing. So they ship, or you can come into their store and pick it up. And hopefully we've got a lot of other people throughout the country that are interested in having our beef to be able to sell at butcher shops and stuff like that. We haven't gone that route yet because, like you mentioned, the demand has been really good so far, and so we've been selling out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But eventually, once we scale up enough, to be able to offer it in some more places throughout the country, especially in Ohio. Got a lot of Ohio fans being that played for the Browns for 11 years. We'll hopefully be able to offer some of our Hall of Fame beef in some local butcher shops, so you don't have to order it online if you don't want. You can just go down to your local friendly butcher there with a sweet mustache like Tyler's and be able to have those human interaction, which we miss so much these days, and pick up the Hall of Fame beef, whether it's our Angus or our Wagyu product.
I love it. So you have full blood from Dr. Sheila. That's the full blood black Wagyu, and then so your F1 cross is actually Akaushi and Angus.
Both, yeah. So we've got the Sim Angus crossed with Akaushi, and we got a little bit of a mutt herd based on 2018 we started, and we have some great mama cows. So we brought in some Akaushi bulls, and now we got black Wagyu bulls running on them, and so a little mix of different F1s and F2s and stuff like that also available. But quality, the way they're raised, all going to be the same, super high quality, and so we're really excited to be able to offer. Hey, if you want that super 50% IMF full blood ribeye, great. But if you want just an Angus or Sim Angus or an F1 that maybe has a little bit more beefiness, a little bit less marbling on it, we'll hopefully be able to offer that, but all raised in the same delicate manner on my farm.
Cool. Right. And it's just well-raised beef, man. That's what we push. Like, people always say, we're trying to sell A5 Wagyu all the time. I'm like, I don't care what you buy. Just buy good beef. Know where it comes from. And like from people like you guys, that are feeding the community around them. I think that is like one of the things that like you keep saying, we got to get back to feeding the community around us. And with us, most of our beef comes from Washington. It comes from Pure Country Farms. It's about 180 miles away from our restaurant in Seattle. And it's just a super small farm. They do about 25 cattle a week. And it's just some of the greatest. We've been there. We've shaken the hands with the farmer. And like, not everybody can do that, but it's so important if you can get out there and meet that farmer and actually go on the ranch and see what they're doing, how they're raising their beef. It means so much. And if we can just have a few more people start to do that and start to, order locally and meeting those people, it's gonna change everything. Because right now, as we all know, 80-90% of the beef in America is processed through 30 plants that are owned by 3 different companies. And so how do we get out there even more, meet our local ranchers and like people like you guys, and have you guys just keep feeding this community? If we all start just feeding the community, and it's gonna go a long way. So
keep telling the story, guys. I think that's the secret, right? When people hear the story and they understand the difference in how these animals are raised, they understand the difference in the care being taken for them and the land, which is a big thing for me. Like, I think healthier land, healthier soils is going to produce better quality products. Then they try it and then they'll never go back.
That's right.
Absolutely. We haven't. My daughter's never going to eat anything less than a F1 cross now. I swear to God. She's a spoiled one. I love it. Well, this has been just so awesome. It's so great to have both of you on. Such just legends in your own way. Honestly, and it's really cool to talk with you guys, and it only helps us keep promoting this brand, to have people like you on, and people who do things the right way. That is what we're so big on, that doing things the right way all of the time. And I really do want to thank you both for your time and being so gracious. This has been such a fun conversation, and I hope that people see this and understand that Wagyu is not this scary thing. They can go out there and get a steak for $20 and try it. We always say don't buy an A5 ribeye out the gate. Buy a $20 skirt steak, F1 cross, cook it up, and it might change your life. So.
Awesome.
That's a great way to put it. Thank you for having me.
And if Joe, you really think you're a little guy, I don't even want to talk to you anymore.
Perspective is everything in life.
Yeah,
for sure.
Hey, Joe, are you going to start selling to Travis Kelce's 1587?
Yeah, it's funny. I was on their podcast a couple months ago, and we were talking about the Wagyu and my ranch, Hall of Fame beef, and Six Springs Farms and stuff. And I sent Travis and Jason a message the other day. I'm like, I know you're Kansas City restaurant, but hey, if you want to supply a little bit extra from Wisconsin, I might have something for you. So we'll see. Although I'm sure as a Kansas City steakhouse, he's probably going to be sourcing locally, I would assume. But you never know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll keep you posted if that happens.
I know. We just covered those guys there because Jason actually said he's like, just give me an Angus ribeye. That's all I want. And Travis is like, give me the Wagyu. I'm like,
Yeah,
of
that sounds
course.
about right.
Looking at those two, which one we was joke? Which one likes Wagyu beef?
Yeah.
Of course, it's Travis. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, gosh, you guys, thank you so much again. This has just been awesome, and
Appreciate it.
yeah, yeah. And please go on, support these guys, support Vermont Wagyu, support Six Springs Farms and Hall of Fame Beef. Like I said, I ordered some from Dr. Sheila at Vermont, and it was amazing. Shipped here overnight, and it was just some of the best beef I've ever had. And I'm going to do it again. So look out for my name. You know, when you see that name come
We'll look for it.
A
I won't
little
miss it
extra in
next
the
time.
bag there.
right? Oh, well, I appreciate you guys. Please go out and support these local farmers. And yeah, I think we're going to sign it off here unless you guys got anything else to say.
All
We're
good.
Well,
That's it. Thanks for having us
Thanks,
on, man.
guys.
This is great.
Thank you.
guys. I appreciate it. We will talk to you guys soon, and we'll see you next time on the Meat Dudes.
All right.